All right, can I start?
Yeah.
I'm so eager.
Because Meryl was there, everyone worked so much quicker.
I might be a little too old for the pop star life. This is my first time, everybody.
I know, I can tell because you've got all your notes.
I know, I literally have it.
But
all
now I'm
typed.
like getting nervous because I'm like, oh God, I should have actually made
No.
notes now.
I mean, if I'm to be honest, you have a much more interesting acting career than I do.
No,
so.
I want to talk about everything. I want to talk about your life. Actually, well, okay, I know we had a jumping off point, but on that, Selena, you've come very, very prepared.
Yes.
And this is an incredibly exciting chat for me. I'm so happy to get to meet you. But I would like to know, just because this is an interesting observation, are you quite studious when it comes to your prep for work, whether it's like music or acting?
Yeah, that's actually yes. And she's referring to the long list of questions that I have for her. Yes, I do. When it's something I really love and care about, I tend to want to just immerse myself in it completely. And specifically for Emilia Pérez, that was an entire different language for me. I should be fluent, and I was when I was younger, but I started working in, mainly English-speaking films. So it's actually been a nice, a connection. I guess it also gets me excited to learn about someone else's life.
And did you do a lot of prep with a language coach, or were you just starting to speak with family again?
Yeah, it was really interesting because Zoe Saldana, or Saldana, is from Dominican Republic. Carla Sofia Gascon is from Spain. So we all actually had to have not interpreters, but more individually have our own coach because we're from different parts of the Latin community. And I am from Mexico. No, I'm from Texas, but my family is in Mexico. So, yeah.
When you told your family that you'd been cast in Emilia Pérez and that you were going to get to speak Spanish again and you were going to get to sort of dive into that fully and immerse yourself in it, like what was their reaction to that?
Extremely proud, and I couldn't be happier to honestly honor that part of me and my culture. So singing in Spanish too was really beautiful because the words are so powerful. And in Spanish, everything sounds romantic. It's very dreamy sometimes, and it can be fierce. And I really loved that because it allowed me to escape into the character a bit more.
Right.
And I'm grateful for that.
Was that sort of your way in, do you feel like, was through the music?
No, I think if anything, it would have hurt me had Jacques Audiard, the director, knew a lot about me. Sometimes I have to face those kind of issues when I approach a role. I don't want people to know it's me, but I try to do my best. So when I did, read with him and I, just went for it, he was very, very kind and communicative, but he didn't know anything about me, which worked out.
So nice though, I'm sure.
It was very nice.
Oh,
all right, can I start?
Yeah.
I'm so eager. Okay, first of all,
I'm scared to know what you're gonna ask.
No, it's all very good, I promise. Okay, so I saw Blitz and the Outrun.
Yeah.
They are fantastic, as always. You are in every role. Can I tell you one that I found to be the one I connected with?
Yeah.
It would have to be the Outrun. And I guess I wanted to ask you, you play such diverse characters, from historical characters to complex and modern day roles. How do you approach, the essence of these characters, especially in Blitz and the Outrun, how different they are?
It's such a hard thing to dissect. I'm sure you feel this as well, but we've been doing this since we were so young. You're sort of developing this ability and this discipline before you're even really aware of what it is and what you're doing, which I feel very grateful for. I feel like there was this sort of like, this lack of inhibition when I was introduced to the world of acting for the first time. Like, I started when I was about 8 years old, very young like you, and it became sort of a part of how I developed, a part of how I made sense of the world and myself. And
I could relate to that.
you know what I mean? Like, I was saying this to a friend the other day. She says she does the same thing. I've always done like fake interviews with myself. I don't know if you've ever done that, but she has.
1,000% I have. As a kid, I used to make pretend scenes for me to do.
All the time. I still do it even now. I'll do it with my dog, and then I'm like, do you think Stella knows what I'm saying right now? So there's always this sort of like element of make-believe that kind of goes beyond reason for me, and I feel like my approach to characters is sort of rooted in the connection to the make-believe in that way. I mean, with something like the Outrun, and that means a lot that that's what you connected to the most, you know. I'm incredibly proud of both of them, but the Outrun was something that I produced, and it was something that I sort of built from the ground up with my partner and with people who became very close friends. And, you know, it was such a sort of like enriching experience. And so because I was producing it, I was on it for like 3 years before we actually...
that's like your baby.
Yeah.
Oh, everyone's gone.
Yeah, everyone's gone.
More for me.
Rona, Jane.
I got to spend time with Amy Liptrot, who the movie is about, and, you know, like everyone, I've been affected by addiction, and I've watched loved ones suffer from alcoholism in particular. It was kind of like this monster in the corner of the room that like I hadn't dealt with. I just wanted to be angry at it and not actually really explore what this feeling was or why they had ended up the way that they did.
Yeah.
And then I was finally ready to sort of crack that open. So there was a lot of raw emotion with the Outrun.
Definitely.
And it was just sort of about finding the best way to use that.
My favorite moment is when you go back to the times that you would use, or your character, I should say. It just showed the journey really well. Personally, I've been in recovery for, you know, things in my life, and it just felt very true. And the way you portrayed it was very honest, and it made me very emotional. It was so beautiful. I loved it so much. How was working with Steve McQueen on Blitz?
It was amazing. I'm such a huge fan of Steve's, and his work has always been so interesting to me. Kind of like with Jacques Audiard as well, like he's always had a very interesting perspective on the world, and he's used his filmmaking to say something, but in a very sort of beautiful, poetic way. It never kind of feels didactic or like you're being taught a lesson. You're kind of being welcomed into this way of thinking, which I really respect. I think that, I don't know if, I'm interested to know what your experience was like with Jacques and with other directors that you've worked with, because I do think it makes such a difference when you're working on something with a filmmaker that you genuinely do respect. Were you a fan of his work before? Had you been exposed to it before? Like, what was your relationship to his work?
Actually, one of the first movies I saw, my mom showed me Rest and Bone.
Wow.
I probably was maybe 18. And then I continued to watch a few of his films, but then the email came in for a chance for me to audition. That's what I crave to do. You know, I've never necessarily wanted to be the center of attention in anything, so I love working with great filmmakers and great artists that really make it feel collaborative. That's probably my favorite actor-director dynamic, is feeling their excitement and their passion for it. And for Jacques Audiard, he was like a little kid. He would get so excited when we do something right, and he would let us know, even though I couldn't understand him at the time. I was very appreciative.
Did he speak in French the entire time?
It was such a weird experience. We had translators, we had, coaches, we had Jack's interpreter. It was French, English, Spanish. It was the wildest combination, but
wow.
He really pulled it off. The sound stages were beautiful, and it was just really breathtaking to watch him and how he works. And that's how I like working with directors. So from like Jim Jarmusch and Harmony Korine, those are the roles I'm attracted to, because I want to be in the hands of someone, like you said, that I respect and can collaborate with in a helpful way.
So on that, if you are the type of person that doesn't necessarily like to be the center of attention, obviously, like, you have spent your life in the spotlight in so many ways.
Yeah.
But of course, we don't know you. I'm sure it's an interpretation that the world has of you that will not, of course, not be accurate. But then when it comes to acting, if the right role came along where like it was you front and center, would you want to do that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I'm just a bit nervous. I have been acting and singing my whole life, but this is all a new experience for me. Like I was telling you earlier, this is my first time, so I'm sorry if I'm a little nervous, but it just feels like I'm in great company. And I'm really proud of the choices I've made, because I do go for the parts that scare me a little or excite me in a way. That's the rush that I crave. And I felt a huge burst of crazy love for Emilia Pérez, and it made me so proud to be a part of it.
¿Y cuánto tiempo va a durar?
No sé.
Varios meses. Tal vez más.
From watching you in films over the years, knowing that there's this other persona you have as a musician, but then whenever I see you in an acting role, I've always been, like, not knowing you, I've always been incredibly impressed by how you've sort of like, you've gone the other way. You haven't gone down the route that people expected you to go down. And I think with something like Emilia Pérez, I was watching it, and obviously, like, we've met a couple of times over the years, but I don't know you personally. And so I was watching you and I was like really rooting for you. Like when you have that solo and it's so like dirty and sexy and raw, and like she's broken and she's messed up and she's a mother and she's trying to do her best, but she also still wants to go out and have a good time. Like it was so honest, and like there's a world where someone in your position wouldn't have gone down that route, and the fact that you did is so cool to see. And like you can see that in the performance, that there's a want there to like show people what you've got.
Thank you. That means a lot to me, and yeah, I resonate with that, because I again love storytelling, and I think my music career is separate. However, I don't see that always being a forever thing. Professionally, I think I'll always have music in my life, because my partner's a musician, and I love singing and writing and having like moments to just do it for fun. It can be a little vulnerable when you're putting yourself out there versus escaping into a character. I wouldn't dissect your performance and say, oh, that's who she is. Right. I would say, wow, she's a totally different person, and that's something I've never seen, you do before. Speaking of singing, you got to do some singing in Blitz. How was that?
It was, well, kind of what you're saying. It is the most vulnerable feeling to get up on a stage, even if it's like a makeshift stage in a munitions factory or a fake munitions factory, and perform for people. And I've always loved, when I'm doing my fake interviews, sometimes I will even sing in my fake interviews.
Oh, that's great.
And I'm great when I sing on my own, and everyone loves it. But the idea of singing in front of people is really terrifying for me, and it's always been really exposing for me.
Ain't misbehaving, I'm saving my love for you.
I love the experience so much, and I loved being able to like learn about the voice as an instrument and how to use it better. But I just have this newfound respect for musicians like yourself and people who use their voice to tell a story. I think it's just, I don't think people realise how special it is not to be able to like technically sing, but to have that extra like je ne sais quoi that like makes you unique and
Thank you.
special.
I appreciate that. I definitely think my strong suit is probably acting, but I will say one thing I'm proud of in music is being able to tell a story.
Yeah.
My favorite songs are mostly ballads, and they're very transparent and honest, and I feel comfortable in that zone. I think I might be a little too old for the pop star life anymore, but I'm genuinely so happy to just be in this new era of my life and so excited to see what's to come, because in a lot of ways it's just the beginning for me. And
Yeah.
I'm so excited about it.
And could you ever see yourself making your own stuff?
I have before. I did a series for Netflix called 13 Reasons Why, which
Okay.
was based on a book, and my mom and I did that together. I do little things and big things. Only Murders, I got to be an executive producer on once we all really got to know each other and
Yeah.
trusted me with, my character. I feel very honored to be a part of any sort of project from the very beginning.
Yeah,
and
makes such a
the way-
difference.
Yeah, the way it's going to be told. So I was really proud of that, and that's what I hope to do more in the future.
I think it gives you a connection to the work that you just don't have otherwise. I've had really great experiences on films where I've just stepped in as an actor, but it is such an unusual, kind of bizarre life to back in the day when we would, audition a lot more, and you'd be told maybe like a month before a movie or a TV series is supposed to start that like,
It's true.
it's your job. But that's what I find so special about kids as well. And I think that's why I was so protective over Elliot, who was in Blitz with me, who's the lead in the film.
This was his first film.
This was his first film. He was 9 years old when he made it.
Gosh.
And there's just this sort of blind faith that kids have. They're just able to sort of go, okay, cool, I'm doing it. But I think the older you get, you do get heavier. There's more to carry. There's more awareness of what can go wrong, or
That's true.
how much responsibility you've got on your shoulders, or how much expectation there is. The more well-known you become.
Yeah.
And so at least when you can be on something from the very beginning, and you can sort of have a hand in actually creatively shaping it, I don't know, it feels so much more like it's your baby,
Yeah, definitely. You're more connected, you're closer to it, and
Yeah.
I love being able to have the freedom to make choices that I think would be best for a project. It was your first time playing a mother, or no?
It was my first time. Well, Elliot reminded me it wasn't my first time. He was like, remember you played the mother to King James the First and Sixth and Mary Queen of Scots search, which he's correct, I did. But this was the first time that I was like actively playing a mother. I'd never done that before.
And feel it through your whole body.
I kind of had to figure out what my version of that was, because I'm not a mum yet, but I'm very, very close to my mother. I wanted to hold on to the awareness that Rita, my character in Blitz, is still very young, as so many women were. Women were, still, but they were having kids when they were 18, 19, 20.
Yeah.
And so hers is this teenage pregnancy, and she's essentially sort of growing up with this little boy. So as much as I wanted there to be this sort of a maternal element to her character, I still wanted it to feel like they were companions. And
That's really special.
Friends.
My mom had me when she was 16.
did she?
And I do feel that we grew up together.
Yeah.
And that is a different perspective than someone who would wait maybe till they're older to have a child.
Yeah.
But it's a bond that is very different. And I'm so grateful that, I am so close with my mom that we were there for each other. It felt very Gilmore Girls, if that makes sense. It was very much that dynamic for a long time.
So was she with you when you were working, when you were a kid?
Yeah, my mom was fantastic. She would never, ever put me in a room by myself, or she was just very aware of things that I didn't know when I was growing up. And now I see and experience, and we have had big movements for especially women in the industry. And I just respected how she raised me. For example, if I had to go to a premiere and I was 16, she'd say, you can't go to the after party. You can just, enjoy that, have fun, and then you're gonna go home. So little things that help my sanity, if you will. But it's fantastic. And I got to play a mom in Emilia Pérez. And
of course you did. How was that?
it was very sweet. However, I was intimidated. They were so fantastic.
Yeah.
And, there's a scene where it's called Papa, and my son
So sweet.
is singing to Carla Sofia Gascon, and it's so special. There is something about children that are fearless, and I appreciate that so much, and I miss it a little. I do miss that.
Whenever I'm with kids, it reminds me of how much I love what I do.
Yeah.
But it's also this melancholy that starts to sink in, because you're like, oh, I'm never gonna have that again.
That's
you
fair.
know?
I felt that many times.
Did you feel that?
Yeah, of course I did.
What age were you when you started?
I was 7.
You were 7.
Yeah, same as you though.
Yeah.
Basically. So you play a lot of historical characters and different eras. How do you find that you can go into those roles culturally of that era, or just societal life in each of those roles?
I don't know. I feel like with period drama or anything that's set in the past, as much as you want to expose yourself to the culture and the sort of zeitgeist of the time, you then sort of need to forget about it. You know what I mean? You need to become aware of it and expose yourself to it and educate yourself in it. But then I've always found that it's so important to just embody who the person is.
Right.
And I've always wanted to play them as if you could meet them now and relate to them now. And I think that the more we learn about even someone like Mary Queen of Scots, she was a young lassie who was kind of in over her head and just wanted to hang out with her friends and had 10 dogs because she was a queen. And I mean, how many singers do you know, or how many actors do you know that are exactly the same? They're in this bizarre world from such an early age, and they're like, okay, I can have whatever I want. Sure, I'll have all these things.
So
I'm a kid, So I think it's important to kind of humanize them no matter what.
I've never really been able to stay in character through, a whole period of shooting. And that's not your approach either?
Nah.
Okay.
I remember the first movie that I did, I was playing a girl from the Valley. I was Michelle Pfeiffer's daughter.
Oh, goodness.
So it was super, it never really came out. It was actually a really great film. Paul Rudd was in it, and John Lovitz, and all these amazing people. And the dialect coach who I have worked with sort of quite a few times since, she was like, I think maybe you should try and stay in character for the whole thing. And I was 11 at the time, and I remember thinking, I'm never gonna want to do this. I'll never find this not awkward. And I tried it for a day, and I was like, nah, I'm done.
I definitely have respect for people who can and use that as an ability to tell a story. I find it sometimes difficult, when you shoot, because a lot of your character choices are so just well done, but you have this emotional depth to you, and it captivates people. Do you have to recover from any sort of rawness that you show, or is it just quite natural and then you can come out of it?
I think that there are moments that will catch you off guard, that you'll feel very affected by. Like, there is a moment in the Outrun where Papa Esiadu, who plays my boyfriend, is pouring wine down the sink, and it's been like a horrific night that I've just completely ruined for him. And physically and emotionally, it's quite violent and chaotic. And so I don't know if you've ever read The Body Keeps the Score, but
Oh, I've heard of it. Never.
yeah, and it's all about how like you can hold on to trauma like that in your body. And I think there was a little bit of that night where it was just so, because I'd been on the receiving end of that as well, but suddenly I was the cause of it. That was incredibly upsetting. So that was the only point, I think, in the Outrun, and probably one of the only times ever where I felt like I just needed a minute. But I think the reason why I love to act and I love to perform is that any of these wounds that you've got or emotions that you've got ready to go, you channel them into the performance. And if they're all sort of coming out of you unfiltered for a 2-minute take, and you feel like you've really allowed the floodgates to open, then actually by the end of the day, you kind of feel, I mean, you're knackered, but you're sort of cleansed from it almost, you know what I mean?
True.
Like, I'm interested to know how you feel. It sounds like you also are able to switch on and off, but with something like Emilia Pérez, were there ever moments where you couldn't shake it off, or no?
You know, to be honest, not with this one, because I related to the music. And by that I mean the lyrics. This being trapped, if you will. My character, Jessie, is trapped in her own world, and she's had everything, you know, that she's wanted, and then she loses her partner and rediscovers herself and wants to find love and have a new life. And I think I found that to be very therapeutic.
¿Conocías un poquito a tu primo o para nada? Hubiéramos podido ir a donde sea. Él nos habría encontrado.
One of the musical numbers is called Bienvenida, and I genuinely felt those words so strongly because it was the scene in the bedroom. It was like, welcome to my life. And all it comes with and all it looks like, from the ugly to the worst to the good and the best. And I really appreciated that. Now, there was a moment, which is very random, on Only Murders in the Building, that did leave an impact on me. It was a scene that's like gonna make me cry now, but there's a scene where my mother in the show says a little bit more about my past and how I've been a bit troubled. And the actress who played the mother had my mom's name. And so when people would call her name on set, I'd always turn thinking, that's my mom. And then I do have to have her be my mom. And she said this beautiful monologue that was very much what my mom would say. And I was crying so much that I made Steve cry too, because he was like, are you okay? I was like, I miss my mom. But it was really, it's interesting. They pop up in certain things, but I am able to get out of it quickly. But I'm also, again, still feel very new. So I'm sure there's gonna be more opportunities for me to connect, you know, and have those feelings again. I do like them.
Steve and Martin, have they been a sort of good source of support? As I said to you before we started this, which I've told Steve Martin before, I met him once, that The Three Amigos was like the movie I used to watch every single night before I'd go to sleep.
I love that.
And I used to do the whole thing. They seem like they're just gentlemen.
They're
And so
fantastic.
amazing.
I feel very lucky. It's, you know, we're going on season 5.
That's mad.
And they're wonderful. They've embraced me. They have this immense amount of wisdom and wit that I don't find really exists anymore. Their humor is very rehearsed and smart.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they will walk on set and they will know everyone's name.
Yeah.
They will ask how
Classy.
their kids are doing and remember what they did for the summer. And it was impressive to me. I was very nervous to start, and they welcomed all of us, and they really did, influence me on how I work and, how dedicated I want to be to any project I'm a part of.
Yeah.
They've made me appreciate it so much. I really care about them.
That's so nice.
Yeah.
That's something that my husband and I say quite a bit, is that there's a certain group of actors that I think exist in the States and also in the UK and Ireland that we just don't make anymore. So like for us, people like Leslie Manville and Gary Oldman and Steve and Martin and even Meryl and all of these people who, so many of them started in the theatre, and like Judi Dench and Maggie Smith, like they grafted in a way that not only we didn't have to, but there's an awareness of the industry now, and we all sort of have an awareness of ourselves that I feel like they didn't sort of have to deal with in the same way. And so they just had these incredible bodies of work before they ever moved into screen. And like Steve,
I think that's so spot on, because the way they talk about their past and how movies were made, and it feels like it was a much different time. And I honestly, I love learning from them. And by the way, Meryl was such a highlight.
Oh, of course, because Meryl's in an episode, isn't she?
No, she was in 2 seasons.
She was in 2 seasons. She's such a baller.
Oh, I know.
She was in 2 seasons.
I know.
That's so cool.
I was so happy. I didn't know what to do with myself. But
I know.
She was fantastic. I'm sure
I mean, you've worked with her a lot more than me. I had one scene with her in Little Women.
Well, she was lovely. I definitely would do anything to work with her all the time if I could.
Did she do that thing that she did on Little Women, and I'd imagine she does on every film set? Meryl, I hope you don't mind me saying this, that she would come on set and you'd figure out what you were going to do, and they'd set up the shot, which, as we know, can take anywhere from like 15 minutes to an hour.
Yeah.
And usually you leave set when the guys are coming in to do that. But Meryl just stays. Meryl just, in the scene that I did with her, we were sat like this, and she had this little dog called Michael. And her and Michael just sat there for like 40 minutes. And because Meryl was there, everyone worked so much quicker.
Oh,
because they were like, oh shit, we better finish because Meryl's waiting and she won't leave and she's watching us as we're working.
Oh,
Did she do that on the show?
Actually, in a different way, yes. And this is why she's Meryl Streep, because we tried to shoot her out, basically. We were wanting
give her
to
a holiday.
Make her feel good and let it be that. And she asked, when are we turning around? Mm-hmm. And this was maybe her second day shooting. And they said, no, we're just going to do your side today, and tomorrow we'll have someone come in and read. And she was almost slightly offended. She immediately wanted to be there for everyone.
Yeah.
She came the next day and sat on set for 12 hours with never being on camera. It was really beautiful to see. She has those manners, if you will, I guess. It's so nice and refreshing.
That's the way it should be, you know? And it's so refreshing. I think I couldn't imagine not doing that for other cast members, but it seems like the three of you in Emilia, there seems to be a real unity between the three of you. Did you guys work quite a bit before you started shooting, or no?
I was the last one to get on board, so I didn't have as much rehearsing time as I'd like, but I enjoyed it. It made it more of a wild ride. So yeah, we did a lot of reading in rooms, on couches, on the floor, and just getting prepared for our day, even in hair and makeup. We were always just checking in with each other and making sure we were all comfortable. If anything, I felt very taken care of by Zoe and Carla, because they both are such strong women, and they're mothers, and they're defiant, and they did such beautiful work on this movie that I was really honored to just be beside them.
Well, so did you, though.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it.
This is the thing. That's what's so gorgeous about Emilia Pérez, is that there is a richness to the overall production of it because the three of you do such beautiful work, and no one could have done the other one's part. Do you know what I mean? And it's still, unfortunately, it's still kind of a novelty to see three women coming together and leading a film, and especially in this very sort of male-dominated industry, like, you know, the drug industry, it's drug trafficking, to kind of solely follow three women is fascinating.
It's been an absolute pleasure to have the appreciation and recognition for all of the characters, because I consider Adriana, who plays Epifania in the movie, I consider her just as crucial to the part, and it's these four women. And again, I actually wrote one of the questions down, like, I wanted to know if you feel like there's enough for women, you know, and I feel like you've just done such a good job in choosing the roles that you do, because you play them defiantly too, and I love that. But I find it's very hard to find female characters that are good sometimes.
I think that there will be certain projects and certain performances that people will give over the next kind of 10 to 15 years that are going to really sort of pave the way for the industry as we go forward. I think that, you know, by the time our daughters come around, hopefully we won't have to have the discussion of like, yeah, there's women in this movie and one of them directed it, and like, good for her, you know. You want to get past the point of it feeling condescending. And it's just, even when I hear about like lists of like, oh, these are the, you know, the female producers that are, no, it's like, dude,
They're producers.
they're producers who do great work, they're directors who do great work, and we're actors, you know, hopefully doing great work as well. And I think as soon as we can get to this place of it all sort of feeling like complete as one sort of industry, one sort of collective, the better.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm sure like we'll meet people, you know, you'll meet Nicole Kidman and stuff as we're doing more press for our projects, and even just having people like her around, like Nicole, Laura Dern, Reese. And also, I don't know if you found this, but I always talk about, like, for me, women in comedy, specifically in TV, like Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, Lena Dunham,
Classics.
Issa Rae, like all of these, I mean, Hacks. I don't know.
Yes, of course. It's so good.
Jane, there's something happening in that world that I think will have a ripple effect on the film industry. Oh my God, I didn't know this, but I'm so excited to talk about this. So the gorgeous, brilliant, perfect, amazing Greta Gerwig gave you guys a joint award at the Cannes Film Festival. How was that experience for the three of you? How was it to be with Greta? Just talk to me about that.
It was really fun. I think you can tell now that we've hung out that I'm still a bit like awkward. So I never like to bother people. That's always been, you know, you know, like Ariana was in the other room and I was like, I'd love to go say hi, but I don't want to bother her because I know how life can be. And I think that can step in the way of me getting to know people, and that's something I should work on. A little bit.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice, but I
guess
get it.
It's fine.
But wait, no, tell me about it.
Oh, I honestly felt very surprised. I thought, I didn't know what to expect. It was all of our first time seeing the film in Cannes.
Oh my God.
And, you know, they can be very honest and you know, they will say what they think of a film. So the entire time I'm melting in my seat and my hands are, you know, sweaty. But then we leave and it all kind of, you know, is received well, which is so nice. And then to get the call from Zoe, I found out from her that we all received the award. And I cried and I thought, wait, how is that possible? Do they do that a lot? And not just the three of us, they included Adriana, and I was so happy. So we all got to celebrate that together, and we were all talking about where we're going to put our award and you know, just how proud we were to be a part of it. Because we just didn't expect it. We didn't know what was going to happen.
Where did you put the award?
So I actually have it above my fireplace.
Nice. Front and center.
You know, just for me to have a proud moment. Oh, I wanted to say one last thing. You leave like long-lasting effects on people. Like Lady Bird was such a big, epic moment for a lot of people. When you get to see what a film does for audiences, how does that make you feel? Do you feel excited, overwhelmed, or?
Lady Bird's been so special. Like, that movie came out 8 years ago. We shot it like almost 10 years ago. And I'm still hearing about the effects that it's had on people. And what's been so lovely is recently my agent told me that his son just started at NYU and he's studying film, and him and his friend are making this short movie. And his mate was like, already working on like the artwork for the poster for his film, like before he shot it. And he's like, I really want it to be like this Lady Bird artwork. And the fact that there's like some kid in New York right now who's still using our movie as a reference is so, I don't know, it's special. And it's special because the reason why I do it is because I love it. It's purely selfish why I'm an actor. It's because I get so much out of it. And I love working with Greta Gerwig in particular. And I want to work with her, you know, my whole life. And so to have that experience as a human and creatively to get so much out of it, but then also for it to have this legacy that is sort of a gift that keeps on giving is just so lovely. And it kind of like, I don't know, it reaffirms your faith in the world and people.
Yeah. I can appreciate that because I feel the same way. I love what I do, but it does mean a lot when it has affected people for the better.
Yes.
Or start, you know, a conversation. But I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know.
Selena, you could never take up too much of my time.
I'm so thankful that you're the first person I got to do this with. Thank you for being so nice.
You're so nice.
That
was so good.